Honest review. Arknights Endfield is incredible, but I believe that before going in and trying out a new game, you would need a better and more realistic sense of what and how the game is in order to 1. Not waste your time, and 2. If the game is even for you, because in my opinion, Arknights Endfield rocks. Thank you, leave a like on the video, click here to subscribe, and name your firstborn after me. By now, I suspect that you already know what Arknights Endfield is all about, considering you clicked on this video. But in case you didn't, developed by Hypergryph, Arknights Endfield is a free-to-play, real-time 3D action role-playing game. It is a spin-off of the original Arknights, featuring a new storyline, characters, and gameplay mechanics, including real-time combat and base-building elements on the Moon Talus 2. While I definitely did not just read that from a page on the internet, the game is more of a building simulator mixed with RPG elements, material collection, team builder, resource manager with blueprints for the factory, generous enough to let players play by their own playstyle, and probably one of the best looking gacha games to ever release so far. Like, come on, just look at this. As someone who casually plays gacha games just to have fun, not caring about meta characters, just pulling whoever I like or whoever made me go, and who gets distracted by the smallest details instead of looking at the bigger picture, I genuinely thought this was gonna be another one of those games where you progress, level up your characters, then you farm equipment, endlessly trying to get good substats. Oh my god, you craft your own equipments? But I mean, of course, you would still need to go around and say, mine and collect materials on your own. Bro, it's automated? Okay, fine, but it's not like the game even deserves to have Arknights in its title, right? I mean, to begin with, Arknights is a tower defense game and Endfield is just— no way you can build towers to protect the base like this?
Bro, I want to know how they programmed the NPCs. How are you gonna give way to— She just look at me.
When you first open up the game, you're immediately greeted with this mesmerizing, bassy voice,
Arknights,
followed by what has got to be one of the best title menu music in any gacha game. On top of that, when it finishes loading, the music drops into what I would call a chef's kiss of nothing but an adrenaline rush. This game's sound design is what should be the standard in any game these days, and Endfield delivered in every aspect. You got the deep impact sounds of asteroids hitting the ground, the crunchiness of the snow beneath your feet, the crisp echoing of steel pillars falling, all complementing the rich eye candy that is the level of graphics this game puts in front of your face right from the very beginning. If a single person can make Unity look this good, I really am expecting a lot more coming from Hypergryph on top of the already crazy work they have done for the future of Enfield's later expansions. Seeing how Wuthering Waves' progress from release to now, I think Endfield can be a great competitor in that front. Because I want to see more Yvonne. Like my friend here, who spent most of his time building and expanding the base, I casually focus on the story for the most part. And on Yvonne. The most obvious thing I noticed right off the bat was the fluidity of the controls. I don't know what they did to this game, but it feels buttery smooth. Kinda like Yvonne. You can instantly feel how refined it is, even as small as the camera panning, how you can move in 8 directions even though there's only WASD on a keyboard, but somehow it makes you able to do a 360 like you're on an analog stick. One key feature that's definitely a huge plus and probably a first for any gacha game is this game's AI, because holy shit. If you've seen any Endfield videos, you probably already know how the AI in this game reacts to you if you glance at them from a certain angle, or the fact that they actually give way to you. But I think one of the more overlooked smaller details that needs more spotlight is in the Yvonne story quest. In this part of the story, you're supposed to help Yvonne play hide and seek with the kids for information like any typical RPG-esque side mission. But to my surprise, they really did program Yvonne's AI to seek and help you progress.
Oh my god! Bro!
The way they handled and cared for how the characters interact with the player just elevates the experience so much, and I think it'll be a while until any other gacha games catch up to this level of AI that's usually present in AAA titles.
私はペリカです。管理人、管理人、管理人、管理人、管理人、お帰りなさい。管理人、管理人、今いいでしょうか。管理人。
Now, any compelling story cannot carry the game just with the storytelling alone. It also needs voice acting that can keep the players engaged throughout. Now, in Endfield, if you've played Arknights, you probably get the numerous references from the setting to the characters themselves. As for me, yeah, I like this guy. In Arknights Endfield, you play as the administrator, either the male or the penguin.
Endfield の管理人。シュシュ。 戻ってこられてよかったよ。お前かった。
In Arknights Endfield, you play as a panda. The game's story flow isn't too held up by mere side quests and is concise enough to follow without you needing to know every single reference they throw at you. While the voice acting is really nothing to write home about, the characters' dialogues aren't too convoluted and are short enough to not seem as if they cut content. The comedy bits here and there aren't too cringe either and actually makes you care and think about that character again 2 hours down the story, even if they're a complete NPC without a name.
It's this guy! It's my man, bro!
In Arknights Endfield, my favorite character is a robot. So far, the only 2 playable areas in Talos 2, aside from the OMV Dijiang ship since, well, it's a ship, are Valley 4 and Wuling. Kinda reminds me of a certain game. Valley 4 being the starter map, and after completing the main quest for the region, you'll be able to access the second region, which is Wuling. But unlike other games, Endfield doesn't allow you to freely explore the map before progressing the main story, which is okay, but I personally don't like getting gatekeeped like that. And then there's the combat.
Oh my god, what was that?
I cannot stress this enough when I say the combat has more impact than Genshin. see what I did there? Anyway, the simplicity of having combos trigger when you use a skill to knock enemies up, or if you get hit, a healer's combo skill would be triggered to recover HP in that instance, is just enough that it doesn't make the learning curve too steep to get into, and it's just the right amount of balance for a game that's ambitious. They even added elemental reactions into the game starting from the second beta named Arts Reaction, where simply put, arts are the elementals. Now I know what you're thinking. 4 characters, all on field helping you out. Crazy, right? Well, kinda. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. It's weird. Not in the sense of it being bad, it's an amazing feature. But the feature to switch characters feels underwhelming. Like for starters, the character switches your current controlled one and not switch your perspective to that said character. And most of the time, I don't even see a reason to switch in the first place when you can already activate your skills without switching to them. Another problem from this is I tend to realize too late when one of my party members dies, since either they're too far to notice when battling or the lack of control I have between the characters. I think if they make it so that if you switch to the target character's perspective instead of replacing the one you're using, it would make it feel that you have way more control over your characters, further upping the levels of the combat. Not to mention, the default keys for switching are F1 to F4. Like, bro, how am I supposed to casually reach those? Or it may just be a skill issue in my end. And remember how I said this in the beginning? Unlike my friend here, who spent most of his time building and expanding the base, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I ended up not doing much of any of the base expansion in the beta. I think if I were to split the game's features and selling points, it wouldn't be like this, but instead more like this. Enter the factory feature. Now, it's so easy to find yourself in the rabbit hole of the factory blueprints and the never-ending tutorials of this game's main focus and selling point that differs from other gacha games. And I gotta be honest, the factory is the biggest factor that made me feel weird about this game. As someone who's spoiled by MiHoYo games where it tells me what to do, looking at the shocking amount of guides was pretty intimidating for me to try. While I do think that way and didn't properly say it in my playthroughs, I did come around to understanding how critical it is. The concept and the vision of the factory, or the AIC mode, is like having the create mod for Minecraft built in for you to try and learn, further expanding the way you play the game. And even then, saying that almost downplays the amount of thought that they've put into this part of the game. The very concept of being able to craft almost everything in this game to having its own economy system, I was honestly overwhelmed.
Wow, that is insane, bro.
Take exploration for example. Conveniently enough, this game's teleport towers are called TP points. Pretty cool. As you guys can see here, each region's TP points are far and few between each other, which is not cool. The way to counteract this is to play spawn. Zip lines around the areas to navigate around the map. Now, as that's one of the many examples of how this game's factory or the AIC mode helps with exploration, the tutorial is pretty long and definitely challenges players to come up and realize their own ideas into reality. While I may have made a big deal out of making the introduction to the mode as part of the main quest like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to gaming since Infinite Niki's pre-registration disaster, look it up, but I just wasn't sure where to start. With the game throwing you into all of it at once, it became confusing from the get-go. Wanna mine? Sure! Build this automatic portable mining rig instead of manually doing it and have your characters pick the loot for you. Yes, that's a feature. Need more resources? Well, you would need to unlock this, then do this guide, then realize you need a certain component that doesn't come with a blueprint, then try to find out which one you can unlock first before the one you saw in the tutorial, then go around the map to collect AIC indexes, and now you can finally unlock the facility to put into a blueprint to use in the future. Easy, right? The complexity aside, one of the best features of this whole thing has got to be the side of letting players help and share with the community. From blueprints to facilities being in other players' worlds, this adds another level of replayability that's not present in any other gacha game so far. And also birthed one of my favorite moments in the whole beta.
It's stuff above. What is above?
Now, with the factory set up and running, you can now make and craft your own equipment, or gear as the game calls it, to use on your characters. Yes, you heard me. You don't go into dungeon to farm gears. You craft all of them. Just behind a very long process that will eventually be worth it in due time. But hey, at least no more gacha inside of a gacha concept hoping to get good substats, right? Yes, little Timmy. Substats are in fact fixed for each gear and equipment. And speaking of gacha instead of a gacha, this game's gacha isn't like any other gacha games. God, I hate that sentence. I am so sorry. Enfield's gacha system, named headhunting, is nothing short of what you call fixing something that doesn't need to be fixed. While you can argue that the very nature of gacha games are inherently predatory to begin with, this is just a whole new level of stupid. Firstly, payday doesn't carry over from banner to banner. Secondly, if you lose the 50-50, the next pull doesn't guarantee you the featured character. Thirdly, the currency needed to get the HH permits are only available if you get duplicates. Why? Just seriously, why? You think every single player has Japanese DNA where pulling limited characters is a side hobby? Now, unlike probably the majority of players, I, a connoisseur at gathering wives, I'm in the waifu over meta boat. Now, before you click off or go straight to the comments, hear me out. The only solution to this, whatever decision this was made by them, is just not to pull blindly or carelessly. While that is a problem in itself, since the situation is nothing short of stupidly money hungry, realistically, we'll just have to wait for them to make changes to the system. But I still would probably go for Yvonne first, cause...
Oh my...
She's good. Yeah, she's good. No, seriously though, she is actually good.
Oh my... Excuse me?
Jokes aside though, I'm gonna put the simple TLDR on screen if you want to know how the gacha works in this game. Low-key, needing a chart like this for a gacha game is pretty stupid. And if you guys want a more in-depth explanation on how the gacha works, I highly suggest watching It Senpai's video on it, as I only had the chance to get Levitate in my first ever 10 times and then my luck just went straight back to 0 like your dopamine level whenever you're gooning and your phone dies. I don't know why I used that example, but eh. Arknights Endfield not just blew my expectations away for how good it is, but it also slaps me into reality of how this isn't exactly the game I was actually hoping it would be, yet I loved it anyway. From the refreshing look to the few, hopefully, One Piece references, this game feels incredibly polished with features that I believe will start a new era of gacha games. I know that sounds overly exaggerated, but hear me out. Arknights Endfield is like Genshin before Genshin existed. Whether you like it or not, similarly to how Genshin shaped and popularized the game gacha trend to what it is today with the UI format you all see in every single game, the fact that it's cross-platform on every single device, and how you would need a mascot of some sort alongside the protagonist, Arknights Endfield blew everything out of the water with how much of a different approach they made with almost everything you can think of. The story, the gacha, the AI, and especially the factory system feature. For me, this is one of those games where, unless you're a die-hard fan of the series or a strong supporter of the developer's previous games, Endfield as a whole is a game where you would need time to understand and get used to in order to fully enjoy and appreciate.
And then name change. It's the first line, Salman and Sahalman, my boy. Eh? Oh, no,
But one thing's for certain is that if Endfield becomes big, a lot more will follow suit. While that can be a negative thing, if future Endfield-inspired games are good, who knows what will happen. Now with all that being said, should you play it? Simple answer, yes. Long answer, you should at least give it a try. I think with how gacha games these days are making you live a second life inside another game, at least Endfield doesn't trap you into the infinite loop of farming for equipments and primos, since the game actually cares about the different types of players' playstyles. You want to focus on combat? Sure, make factories that cater to character gears. Tired of the combat or haven't leveled them up enough to clear a challenge? Use towers instead to clear it. But what if I can't do both? Well, there's always NT and Ananta to wait for, so.
That's a huge ass cow.
You can collect cow shit.
Wake me up. I'm in it. Yes. And you can get